The morning sky above Earth was calm, painted in soft blue with drifting white clouds. People in cities, towns, and villages went about their lives without knowing that this would be the day everything changed. Cars moved on busy roads, children played in schools, farmers worked in their fields, and the world seemed normal. But far above, in the silence of space, something massive had already arrived. The first to notice were the astronomers. A young scientist in an observatory wiped his glasses and stared at his screen, unable to believe what he was seeing. At first he thought it was an error, maybe some kind of satellite malfunction. But the shapes were too clear, too precise. They were not meteors, not space rocks, not anything natural. They were ships, enormous dark ships drifting slowly toward Earth. News spread like wildfire. Within hours, governments were holding emergency meetings. Soldiers were put on high alert. Ordinary people turned on their televisions, radios, and phones, searching for answers. Fear rippled through humanity like a wave. Everyone was asking the same question. Who are they and what do they want? In orbit above the planet, the ships were like floating mountains. Their metal surfaces glowed with strange blue lights. They made no sound, but their presence was heavy, suffocating as if the sky itself had been stolen. Hundreds of them hung over the Earth's atmosphere, positioned above major cities and regions. They did not move fast. They did not attack. They simply waited. People gathered in streets, staring upward. Some prayed, others screamed, and many stood frozen with wide eyes. Children clutched their parents. In one small town, an old man whispered that the end of the world had come. Yet no one could look away. Then it began. At exactly noon, every screen on Earth went black. Televisions, phones, computers, even billboards in the cities. All of them flickered, then displayed the same image. A tall alien figure appeared, dressed in dark armor that gleamed like obsidian. His face was pale, sharp and proud, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce directly into the human soul. Behind him stood the insignia of the Galactic Empire, a symbol of power that stretched across countless stars. His voice echoed across every device, deep and commanding. He did not shout, but his words carried the weight of absolute control. "People of Earth," he said, pausing long enough for silence to spread across the world. "We are the Galactic Empire. We have watched your species grow. We have measured your strength. You are not ready to rule yourselves. You are weak. You are divided. You are ours." Gasps filled living rooms, war rooms, and crowded streets. The alien's words continued. "You have one choice. Surrender your planet. Submit to the Empire. Give us your resources, your labor, your loyalty. In return, we will allow some of you to live. Resist and you will be destroyed. This is not a request. This is your only chance," the message ended. The screens went black again. The world was left in silence, heavy and terrifying. For several seconds, no one moved. It was as if the entire human race was holding its breath. Then chaos erupted. Some people shouted that humanity should surrender. Others demanded that they fight. Leaders argued in secret rooms, generals pointed at maps, and scientists begged for more time to understand the alien technology. Yet the ships remained, silent and watchful, like predators circling prey. In a small apartment, a mother hugged her child and whispered promises she did not believe. In a military base, a young soldier loaded his rifle, even though he knew it would be useless against ships the size of skyscrapers. Across the oceans, radio signals crackled with urgent voices, each one asking the same desperate question. What do we do now? But deep in the heart of humanity, something else was stirring. Fear was everywhere, but fear was not the only emotion. Beneath it burned anger, pride, and defiance. The Empire had underestimated what it meant to be human. As night fell, the alien ships glowed against the dark sky, silent and terrifying. Children pointed at them like stars, but adults saw them for what they were, symbols of domination, shadows of death. Yet in that silence, decisions were already being made. World leaders knew that surrender meant slavery. Resistance meant destruction. But some whispered that humanity had survived the impossible before. Empires had risen and fallen. Invaders had come and been pushed back. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was a way. Somewhere in secret labs and bunkers, scientists worked through the night, trying to study fragments of old alien signals caught in the past. Somewhere else, soldiers sharpened their knives and loaded their weapons, not because they believed they could win, but because they refused to kneel. And in ordinary homes, families clung to each other, promising that no matter what came, they would face it together. The arrival of the Empire was not just the beginning of invasion. It was the beginning of a test of what it truly meant to be human. In the mountains, a lone man stood on a cliff, watching the ships hover above the valley below. His coat flapped in the cold wind, and his eyes narrowed at the sight of the dark giants blotting out the sky. He did not speak, but his silence carried the weight of millions. The world was afraid, yes, but the world was also waiting to see if Earth would bend its knee or stand tall. And somewhere in the depths of the Empire's fleet, an alien commander looked down on the blue planet and smiled with arrogance. To him, the humans were already broken. They just did not know it yet, but he would soon discover the truth. Because on this day, the arrival of the Galactic Empire had awakened something far more dangerous than they could ever imagine. It had awakened humanity's will to fight. The world did not sleep that night. Cities that were once filled with lights and laughter now glowed with the uneasy shine of fear. Across the oceans, in palaces, bunkers, and underground command centers, leaders gathered around glowing screens, their faces pale. They all watched the same thing, the hovering shadows in the sky. The alien ships had not moved since their arrival. They stayed still like hunters waiting for prey to give up, but everyone knew it was not patience. It was power. The Galactic Empire was giving humanity time to decide. Inside the United Nations chamber, dozens of voices rose in argument. Presidents, prime ministers, and generals shouted over one another. Some demanded surrender. We cannot fight them. Look at their ships, look at their technology. Resistance means extinction. Others slammed their fists on the table. If we bow today, we will bow forever. We must resist even if it kills us. The room was thick with tension. Every nation had its own fears, its own pride, its own scars. For once, the old rivalries between countries seemed meaningless. The aliens were not attacking America or China or Russia. They were attacking Earth, and that changed everything. Far away in a secret military bunker, soldiers listened to the alien broadcast again and again. The voice of the Empire's emissary echoed in the speakers, cold and merciless. Submit to the Empire. Give us your world, your labor, your loyalty. Resist and be destroyed. Every word was sharp as a blade. Every word was designed to break the human spirit. But the soldiers did not break. Some clenched their jaws. Some muttered curses under their breath. And one young man whispered quietly to himself, "Over my dead body." The next morning, the Empire spoke again. Once more, every device across Earth flickered to life. The alien emissary appeared, his sharp features colder than before. Behind him, a holographic display of Earth rotated slowly, as if the planet was already theirs. "People of Earth," his voice boomed, "you have 24 hours to surrender. At the end of this time, we will burn your cities to ash. We will erase your armies. Your resistance will mean nothing. Do not mistake our patience for mercy. It is only efficiency. 24 hours. That is all." The message ended. Silence followed, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence before a storm. All across the planet, humanity held its breath. In the streets, people wept and prayed. Some packed bags, though there was nowhere to run. Others held signs demanding their leaders fight. In every corner of the world, the same question burned in every heart. What will humanity do? Governments scrambled. Secret meetings stretched into endless hours. Some leaders argued that humanity had no chance, that survival required obedience. They said surrender was the only path, but others spoke with fire in their voices. They reminded the Council that Earth had faced conquerors before, that empires had come and gone. "We have always fought back," one leader said, his voice trembling but strong. "And we have always survived. These aliens believe they can enslave us. Let us show them what humans are made of." Meanwhile, in hidden laboratories, scientists worked without pause. They studied every signal, every flicker of energy from the alien ships. Most of the data was beyond comprehension, far beyond human science. Yet still they searched. They knew the clock was ticking, and Earth's future depended on even the smallest discovery. In a darkened war room, generals plotted defenses. Missiles were moved. Fleets were positioned. Pilots trained for suicide runs, knowing that against ships the size of mountains, their chances were slim. Still, no one backed down. They all knew one truth: if humanity was going to die, they would die fighting. On the ground, ordinary people prepared in their own ways. A farmer loaded his rifle and stood watch over his fields, even though he knew it would not matter against alien war machines. A group of teenagers gathered in a basement, vowing that if the aliens invaded on foot, they would fight with knives and fire. A mother told her daughter a story about human courage, her voice shaking as she spoke but her eyes burning with pride. Everywhere, the same decision was forming. When the ultimatum ended, humanity would not surrender, and in the orbit above Earth the aliens watched. The commander of the fleet leaned back in his chair, his mouth curled into a cold smile. To him, this was nothing new. Worlds had resisted before. They always broke. The humans would break too. But he did not understand what made this planet different. As the hours passed, something spread through Earth like fire. It was not fear, though fear still gripped them. It was not anger, though anger burned hot in every chest. It was something stronger, something sharper. It was defiance. At the end of the day, when the alien ships lit the sky with their blue glow, the answer came. From a single broadcast tower, the human leader spoke. His face appeared on screens around the world, his voice clear and steady. He did not look like a conqueror. He was not covered in armor or glowing lights. He was simply a man, wearing the weight of an entire species on his shoulders. To the Empire, he said, his eyes fixed on the camera. We have heard your threat. You tell us to surrender. You tell us to kneel. But you do not understand who we are. We are not your slaves. We are not your prey. We are human, and we will fight you even if it costs us everything. The message spread in seconds. Crowds in streets erupted with shouts. Soldiers cheered. Families hugged each other with tears in their eyes, knowing what the choice meant. In the alien fleet, the commander's smile faded. His hands tightened into fists. For the first time in centuries, a world had dared to speak back to the Empire. The ultimatum had been given, and humanity had answered. The world was no longer silent. After the human leader's words echoed across the planet, something changed in the air. Fear was still there, heavy and cold, but it was no longer the only feeling. In its place came a spark, small but powerful. It spread from one city to another, from one home to another, until it caught fire in the hearts of billions. For the first time since the alien ships appeared, humanity felt united. In villages, towns, and cities, people raised their heads to the sky, no longer with only terror but with defiance. Soldiers who had been waiting for orders now moved with determination. Scientists in hidden bunkers worked twice as fast, their hands shaking not from fear but from urgency. Families that had been preparing to run now stood together, ready to face whatever came. The Galactic Empire had demanded surrender. But Earth had answered with a refusal that shocked even its own people. Humanity had chosen resistance. Far above, in the flagship of the alien fleet, the Empire's commander watched the broadcast replay. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowed. The humans were bold, yes, but to him boldness meant nothing. He had crushed hundreds of worlds before, and each had believed they could resist. None had succeeded. They are only children, the commander said to his officers. They believe courage can defeat power. We will show them the truth. But deep inside, though he would never admit it, there was a shadow of doubt. The humans had not hesitated. They had not begged for more time. They had chosen war without fear in their voices. That was rare. Too rare. On Earth, the leaders prepared their answer in action. Armies mobilized, jets were fueled, and missile silos unlocked codes that had not been touched in decades. Submarines rose from the depths, their weapons aimed skyward. Though they all knew their technology was primitive compared to the Empire's, they refused to bow. Humanity's message was clear. If you strike us, we will strike back. In the war rooms, generals argued over strategies. We cannot hope to win a direct fight, one said. But we can bleed them. We can show them the cost of invasion. Another leaned forward, his voice sharp. If we make them believe Earth is not worth the price, maybe, just maybe, we survive. In hidden laboratories, scientists whispered about something more. For years, fragments of strange signals had been recorded in deep space. Signals no one could explain. Now some believed those signals came from alien ships. If they could decode them, perhaps they could find a weakness. Time was short, but desperation made them work faster than ever before. Meanwhile, the people themselves began to prepare. A mechanic in a small town used scrap metal to build makeshift traps. A hacker in a basement worked on disrupting communications, not knowing if alien systems could even be hacked, but trying anyway. A group of children painted the words, "We will not kneel," on a rooftop where the alien ships could see. Every act, big or small, was a piece of the same message. Humanity was not afraid to fight. The Empire answered swiftly. Without warning, 3 alien ships descended lower into Earth's skies. They hovered over major cities, New York, Beijing, and London. Their engines burned like suns, their shadows stretching for miles. The ground shook as the air itself seemed to bend beneath their power. From each ship, a voice thundered into the atmosphere, carried by unseen technology. It was not the calm voice of the emissary this time. It was the roar of commanders filled with rage. You defy the Empire? Then you will learn the price of defiance. Panic surged through the streets. Families ran for cover. Sirens wailed and soldiers braced for impact. Yet even in the chaos, no one called for surrender. The defiance had taken root too deeply. Then, without warning, the ships unleashed their power. Beams of energy tore across the skies, striking targets chosen to terrify rather than destroy. Bridges collapsed into rivers. Power stations exploded in flames and communication towers crumbled. The attacks were precise, designed not to wipe out cities but to remind humanity of how fragile they were. But humanity did not bow. As fires burned, soldiers launched missiles. The weapons streaked into the sky, explosions blooming against the alien shields. Most were useless, scattering like sparks against armor too strong to crack. But one missile, by chance or by fate, struck a weaker section. A flash of light burst across the sky as part of the alien hull tore away. The ship staggered for a moment, smoke spilling from its wound. The world erupted in cheers. It was not victory, but it was proof. The aliens were not gods. They could bleed. In the mountains where the man in the dark coat still stood, he watched the battle unfold with grim eyes. His voice was quiet, but it carried in the cold wind. "They came to break us," he whispered. "But all they have done is awaken us." Across the galaxy, the message began to spread. Traders, smugglers, and wanderers carried the news beyond Earth's skies. Whispers grew in hidden corners of alien worlds. The humans had defied the Empire. The humans had fought back. And the humans had drawn blood. The commander of the fleet raged in his chamber, smashing his fist against the table. This is only the beginning. Crush them. Burn their cities. Show the galaxy that no one can resist the Empire. But already the seed of doubt had been planted. Humanity had chosen defiance. Humanity had chosen to fight. And for the first time in centuries, the Empire realized it was not facing another broken world. It was facing something far more dangerous. It was facing humans who refused to kneel. The alien commander was furious. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had ruled the stars without challenge. Worlds had bowed. Armies had shattered. Entire species had been reduced to servants. Yet here was Earth, a small, primitive world daring to resist. Worse, one of their missiles had drawn blood. Inside the flagship, the commander's voice thundered. "No more warnings. No more patience. Show them the price of defiance. Strike them. Break them. Burn their spirit." The order spread through the fleet like lightning. Alien ships shifted into formation. Their glowing engines roared as they descended closer to the planet. For the first time, the full power of the Empire would fall upon Earth. On the ground, humanity braced itself. In cities, air raid sirens screamed. Families rushed into basements and underground shelters. Soldiers moved into positions. Their weapons pointed to the skies, even though they knew how small they were compared to the giants above. Fighter jets launched from runways, slicing through the air like arrows racing toward thunder. In a hidden bunker beneath the mountains, generals and scientists watched the alien fleet on giant screens. Their voices were tense, their plans desperate. "They are coming in force," one general said. "This will not be a warning strike. This will be annihilation." The human leader stood silent for a moment, his eyes fixed on the glowing dots representing alien ships. His voice was calm but firm. "Then we fight. Every missile, every plane, every soldier. We cannot stop them, but we will make them pay for every inch of our world." The first attack came at dawn. Above the Pacific Ocean, 3 alien warships opened fire. Beams of energy streaked downward, slicing through water like knives. The ocean boiled. Waves rose like mountains, and entire fleets of ships were swallowed by the fury. In seconds, thousands of lives were lost. Over Europe, alien cruisers unleashed storms of plasma across cities. Buildings exploded into rubble, streets cracked open, and the skies turned red with fire. People screamed, ran, and prayed, but the destruction moved faster than they could escape. In Asia, alien drones poured from the sky like a swarm of metal insects. They spread through fields and towns, scanning, destroying, leaving trails of smoke and fire behind. Tanks rolled out to face them, but the drones moved faster, their weapons cutting through steel as if it were paper. Earth was burning, yet humanity did not surrender. Fighter jets roared into the skies. Pilots knew the odds. They were facing ships larger than cities, but still they fought. Missiles streaked through the air, exploding against alien shields. Some failed, but a few broke through, tearing holes in the armor of drones and smaller ships. Each victory, no matter how small, filled the soldiers with fierce pride. In one battlefield, a squad of soldiers watched as a massive alien walker descended from a hovering ship. Its legs slammed into the earth, crushing tanks beneath them. Its weapons glowed with deadly energy. For a moment, the soldiers felt despair. But then, instead of running, they set a trap. They lured the walker into a canyon rigged with explosives. With one final push, the canyon walls collapsed, burying the machine in a storm of rock and fire. The soldiers cheered. Even in defeat, humans found ways to bite back. The aliens expected fear. What they found instead was rage. In laboratories, scientists worked while the world shook around them. They analyzed fragments of wreckage from the wounded alien ship, searching for weakness. Their eyes burned from lack of sleep, but their hands moved faster than ever. Somewhere inside that alien technology there had to be a flaw. They knew time was running out. The battle spread across every continent. Fires lit the night sky. Explosions echoed across valleys and cities. From space, Earth looked scarred, its surface glowing with destruction. But still, the humans fought. In the streets of a ruined city, civilians formed militias. Armed with rifles, Molotov cocktails, and nothing but courage, they ambushed alien patrols. They hid in alleys, on rooftops, and in the shadows. Every time an alien drone passed, a bullet or a firebomb found its mark. Humanity refused to be prey. Even as the death toll rose, the spirit of defiance burned brighter. Children painted messages on ruined walls. We fight. We live. We are human. The words spread hope through the rubble. In the flagship above Earth, the alien commander grew restless. Reports came in. Victory, yes, but not as swift as expected. The humans were resisting with a ferocity unlike anything he had seen. Their technology was laughable, but their willpower was dangerous. These creatures fight like cornered beasts, one officer said nervously. They are more than beasts, the commander growled. But no matter their spirit, they will break. They all break. Yet in his heart, doubt deepened. For the first time, the Empire was bleeding longer than expected. On Earth, as cities crumbled, the human leader broadcast again. His voice, hoarse but steady, reached radios and screens across the world. They want us to fear them. They want us to kneel. But look around you. Our cities burn, yet we still fight. Our armies fall, yet we still fight. Even if they destroy us, they will remember us. They will remember humanity as the species that did not surrender. The speech spread like fire. Soldiers fought harder. Civilians refused to run, and scientists pushed forward with desperate hope. Humanity was losing ground, but they were not losing their will. And then, for the second time, something impossible happened. Above South America, a group of human jets targeted a massive alien cruiser. Their missiles slammed against its shields, breaking one section open. In a final act of sacrifice, one pilot flew his jet straight into the wound. The explosion tore through the cruiser's core, and the massive ship fell from the sky in flames. Billions across the world watched the burning wreckage fall, and for the first time since the invasion began, hope shone in their eyes. The Empire was not invincible. The alien commander slammed his fist onto the control panel, his rage echoing through the chamber. Increase the assault. Crush them completely. Leave nothing standing. But no matter how much destruction he unleashed, the humans did not break, for in every burning city, in every ruined field, in every bunker and home, one truth echoed louder than the thunder of war. Humanity would fight until the last breath. The world was broken. Cities burned, oceans boiled, and skies were filled with fire. Entire nations had been scarred by the Empire's wrath, yet still, humanity stood. They were bruised, battered, but not defeated. For every building that fell, someone picked up a weapon. For every soldier lost, another stepped forward. Humanity was refusing to die quietly. But defiance alone would not be enough. If Earth was to survive, it needed more than courage. It needed a way to fight back, a way to hurt the Empire where it mattered most. Deep inside a hidden laboratory carved into a mountain, a group of scientists huddled around a glowing piece of alien wreckage. It was the remains of the cruiser that had fallen in South America, recovered at great cost. The metal pulsed faintly, still alive with strange energy. Dr. Elena Carter, her face pale and her hands trembling, stared at the wreckage. She had been awake for 3 days straight, drinking nothing but bitter coffee and living on scraps of food. But her eyes burned with determination. "This is it," she whispered. "This is what we've been waiting for." Her team leaned closer. For months, Earth had intercepted strange signals in deep space, patterns of energy too complex for human technology. Now those same signals pulsed faintly from the wreckage. If they could decode them, they might uncover the weakness of the alien ships. Hours turned into days. While battles raged across the world, the scientists worked without pause. Every breakthrough came with failure, every failure came with despair, but they pressed on. Humanity's survival depended on them, and then at last a discovery was made. Dr. Carter slammed her hands on the table, her voice shaking with excitement. "They're shields." "It's not invincible, it cycles. Every 30 seconds there's a flicker, a moment of weakness. If we time our weapons right, we can punch through." The room fell silent. For the first time they had something real. A chance. A hope. The information spread quickly to Earth's surviving command centers. Generals leaned forward, their eyes lighting up. Pilots nodded grimly, ready to risk everything. Even civilians who heard the whispers felt their spirits lift. The Empire was not untouchable. Meanwhile, in the wreckage of a destroyed city, resistance fighters gathered. They were a mix of soldiers, mechanics, and ordinary people, armed with whatever they could find. One of them, a young man named Daniel, carried a stolen alien rifle. Its dark metal hummed with power. Somehow it had adapted to human hands. He raised it high and shouted, "If they can bleed, they can die." Cheers erupted from the group. They knew the battle ahead would be deadly, but for the first time it did not feel hopeless. Far above, the alien commander scowled at the reports coming in. Ships were falling, not many, but enough to sting. Every loss was a scar on the Empire's pride. "Impossible," he muttered. "They should not even understand our technology." His officers shifted nervously. None dared to suggest the truth. The humans were learning faster than anyone expected. The next battle came swiftly. Over the deserts of North Africa, alien warships descended to crush another resistance stronghold. But this time humanity was ready. Hidden beneath the sands, missiles waited. As the alien shields flickered in their cycle, the weapons launched. The first few failed, striking too soon, but one missile, perfectly timed, broke through. A warship shuddered in the sky, flames ripping through its core before it crashed into the desert with a thunderous explosion. The ground shook, and the people watching screamed with joy. The impossible had happened again. Another alien giant had fallen. Word spread like lightning. Across the world, fighters began to target the shield cycle. For every 10 attacks that failed, one succeeded. Ships that once seemed like gods now burned like mortal machines. Humanity had found the crack in the armor. In ruined cities, people who had hidden in fear now rose with hope. Mothers told their children, "We are winning." Soldiers who had once marched to their deaths now fought with fire in their eyes. Scientists worked harder, refining the weakness, turning data into weapons. Humanity was learning, adapting, surviving. But hope came with a price. The aliens responded with fury. Entire cities were reduced to ash. Villages were erased in seconds. The commander of the fleet grew ruthless, ordering massacres meant to terrify the humans back into submission. Yet the opposite happened. The more the Empire destroyed, the stronger humanity's will became. One night, in a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of Paris, the human leader stood before his people once more. His clothes were torn, his face lined with exhaustion, but his voice carried the weight of iron. "They thought we would surrender. They thought we would kneel. But look at us, we are still here. We are still fighting, and now we are striking back. Every ship we destroy is proof that they are not gods. Every victory, no matter how small, proves that humanity cannot be broken. Remember this, the galaxy is watching. The Empire wants to show us as an example of weakness. Instead, we will become the example of defiance. We will fight until the stars themselves burn out." His words spread across radios, across broken televisions, across whispered mouths in shelters, and with every word the fire inside humanity grew. Far away on alien worlds under the Empire's control, whispers began. The humans are fighting back. The humans have destroyed ships. The humans refuse to kneel. For the first time in centuries, the shadow of fear passed not through the conquered, but through the Empire itself. Back on Earth, Daniel and his resistance fighters ambushed another alien patrol. With stolen weapons, clever traps, and raw courage, they cut down drones and soldiers. When the smoke cleared, Daniel stood atop the wreckage, his voice echoing into the night. "This is our world, and we will never give it to them." The words carried through the ruined streets, filling every survivor with pride. The turning point had come. The Empire had expected fear. They had found fury. They had expected submission. They had found defiance. And worst of all for them, they had expected easy victory. Instead, they had awakened a war they might not be able to contain. For humanity had learned the truth. The Empire could bleed. And if it could bleed, it could fall. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars, countless worlds, countless species. For centuries, all of them had lived under the iron hand of the Galactic Empire. Some had fought once long ago, but all had fallen. Their rebellions had been crushed, their spirits broken. No one dared to rise again. But then whispers began, small at first, carried by smugglers, traders, and wandering ships. Whispers about a blue world on the edge of the galaxy. A world the Empire had tried to conquer. A world that refused to kneel. They call themselves humans, the whispers said. They fight back. In the dark alleys of alien cities, slaves leaned closer to hear the rumors. In secret gatherings, rebels hiding in the shadows repeated the words like prayers. The humans destroyed warships. The humans defied the ultimatum. The humans bleed, but they still fight. The shockwave spread from star system to star system, growing louder, stronger, unstoppable. For the first time in generations, the galaxy felt something it had forgotten long ago. Hope. On Earth, humanity did not know how far their defiance had traveled. They only knew their battles were not yet over. Every day was a struggle. Every night was filled with fire. But now, every victory carried more weight than they could imagine. In one ruined city, resistance fighters used the shield cycle weakness to ambush another alien cruiser. The battle was fierce, but when the ship fell, the explosion lit up the night sky like a second sun. People across the world cheered, their voices rising from the rubble like thunder. Unseen by them, the explosion was recorded by alien sensors. And those recordings, carried through the galaxy, became proof that the Empire was not invincible. Inside the Empire's fleet, the commander seethed with fury. Reports piled onto his desk. Ships lost, soldiers killed, resistance stronger than expected. His officers shifted uneasily around him. One finally dared to speak. "Commander, if this continues, the other worlds may silence." The commander roared, slamming his fist onto the table. The chamber shook. No one defies the Empire and survives. The humans will be crushed, and their ashes will serve as a warning to all who think of rebellion. But even as he spoke, his words rang hollow. He knew the truth. The humans had already become a symbol. Even if Earth was destroyed, the idea of resistance would live on. And an idea was harder to kill than an army. Meanwhile, far beyond Earth, on a mining world enslaved for centuries, a worker lifted his head toward the stars. His body was scarred, his spirit worn. But when he heard the rumor of humans standing tall, something stirred inside him. He whispered to his friends, "If they can fight, maybe we can too." On another planet, a group of rebels hiding in caves passed along a smuggler's recording of Earth's defiant broadcast. They listened in silence as the human leader's words echoed, "We are not your slaves. We are not your prey. We are human." When the voice ended, the rebels' eyes shone with tears. One of them clenched his fist and said, "We are not slaves either. Not anymore." The shockwave was growing. Back on Earth, the human leader stood before a battered council of generals and scientists. His voice was quiet but steady. "We are still outnumbered. We are still outgunned. But every ship we destroy is more than a victory. It is a message. They think they can break us, but instead they have awakened us. And not just us, the galaxy is watching. If we stand, others will rise. And if others rise, the Empire will fall." The room fell silent. The weight of his words settled on everyone's shoulders. They were not just fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for every world that had ever bowed to the Empire. The next day, alien fleets descended again. Battles raged across continents. Skies burned, seas boiled, and cities crumbled. But humanity was different now. They no longer fought only for survival. They fought for freedom. In one battlefield, Daniel and his resistance fighters set a trap for an alien walker. Using stolen alien weapons and human ingenuity, they destroyed the machine in a blast of fire. As the dust cleared, Daniel stood atop the wreckage, shouting to his comrades, "We are the spark. Let the galaxy see our fire." His words were carried by reporters, by survivors, by hidden transmissions. They reached further than he could ever imagine. In the farthest corners of the galaxy, the oppressed began to stir. Chains felt weaker, fear felt lighter. The whispers grew into voices. The Empire can be fought. The Empire can be hurt. The Empire can be defeated. The galactic shockwave had begun. In the Empire's throne world, deep in its heart of power, the High Lords listened to reports with cold fury. "This cannot continue," one hissed. "If the humans inspire rebellion, the galaxy will burn." Another nodded, his face grim. "Then Earth must not just be destroyed. It must be erased. No survivors. No memory." Orders were given. A new wave of ships was prepared. This time it would not be war. It would be extermination. But on Earth, humanity was ready. They had been broken, but not crushed. They had been burned, but not silenced. And now, with the galaxy's eyes upon them, they carried not just their own hope, but the hope of countless others. The storm was coming. The final blow was being prepared. But humanity stood tall, and in the silence before the next battle, one truth echoed across stars and hearts alike. The humans had defied the Empire, and their defiance had shaken the galaxy. The stars above Earth burned with enemy fire. The sky was filled with warships more than anyone had ever seen. Their massive forms blocked out the sun, casting the world in shadow. Cities trembled as alien weapons charged. The Galactic Empire had come with one goal: extermination. The High Lords had given the order. Earth was to be wiped clean. Humanity was not to be enslaved, not to be broken, but erased. The rebellion they had sparked in the galaxy could not be allowed to grow. Earth would be turned into ashes, a warning to all. On the ground, people looked to the sky with fear in their eyes. Yet behind the fear, there was also fire. They had come too far to bow now. They had bled, they had suffered, but they had also learned. Humanity had discovered the Empire's weakness, had destroyed their mighty ships, and had awakened hope across the stars. In a hidden command bunker, the human leader stood before the last council. His voice was steady, though his face showed the weight of the moment. "This is it. Their final move. They believe they can erase us, but we will not vanish quietly. We will not bow, we will not kneel. If this is our end, then we will make it an end that shakes the galaxy forever." The generals nodded. Pilots tightened their gloves. Resistance fighters checked their weapons. Scientists uploaded the final strategies, coordinating attacks on every front. Every man, woman, and child who could fight prepared. Humanity would not surrender. Above, the alien commander watched from his flagship, his eyes cold as stone. "Begin the cleansing," he ordered. But when the first wave of fire rained down, Earth was ready. Hidden weapons rose from the ruins of cities, firing in perfect timing with the alien shield cycles. Fighters launched from underground hangars, swarming like angry bees around the Empire's giants. Resistance fighters struck from the shadows, ambushing soldiers, sabotaging machines, turning Earth itself into a battlefield the Empire could not control. And then came the strike that no one expected. Dr. Elena Carter's team, working in secret for weeks, had built something from the alien wreckage, something new, something dangerous. A weapon that could overload the Empire's energy systems. It had never been tested. It might kill them all, but it was the only chance. "Activate it," Elena whispered, her hands shaking. A surge of light burst into the sky. The weapon sent a pulse of energy across the battlefield. Alien ships shuddered as their shields flickered wildly, their systems failing. For a few precious minutes they were vulnerable. Humanity struck with everything it had. Missiles roared, fighters screamed through the sky. Resistance cannons fired until their barrels melted. One by one, the Empire's mighty warships began to fall. The ground shook with each crash. The skies lit up with fire. The impossible was happening again. Earth was fighting back and winning. On the flagship, the alien commander's face twisted in rage. "Unthinkable. Humans are insects. They cannot..." His words were cut short as another explosion rocked the fleet. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never known before: fear. And then, in the heart of the chaos, a message went out. The human leader's voice carried across every channel, across every ship, across every world within range. His voice was steady, clear, unbreakable. You came to erase us. You came to enslave us. You thought humanity was weak. But today you have learned the truth. We are not weak. We are not prey. We are the fire that will burn away your empire. This is our final ultimatum. Leave our world or be destroyed. We are humanity, and we will never kneel. The message spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, enslaved worlds heard the words. Across rebel cells, the broken and the beaten heard the ultimatum. And they rose. Chains were shattered. Banners were raised, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy itself screamed in defiance. The alien commander saw it clearly then. Even if Earth was destroyed, it was too late. Humanity had already won. Not with ships, not with weapons, but with something far stronger: hope. And hope was spreading like a virus through the stars. The battle raged for hours. Ships fell on both sides, the ground burned, and the skies turned red with fire. But in the end, as dawn broke over the battered Earth, the impossible truth became clear. The Empire was retreating. One by one, their ships pulled back, limping into the void. The commander gave the order in silence, his pride shattered, his empire trembling. They had failed. Humanity had not only survived, they had humiliated the greatest power in the galaxy. On the ground, cheers erupted. People fell to their knees, not in surrender but in joy. Soldiers embraced, children cried. Resistance fighters lifted their weapons high in victory. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth was free. The human leader looked to the sky, his eyes filled with fire. He knew the war was not over. The Empire still existed. More battles would come. But something had changed forever. Humanity was no longer alone. The galaxy had seen their defiance. The galaxy had heard their ultimatum. And the galaxy was ready to fight. As the sun rose over a wounded but unbroken Earth, one truth echoed louder than any victory song. The humans had defied the Empire. And now, the galaxy itself was rising.